Alright, it looks like we're gonna stack now and spread it. Oh my god! I don't know what's happening, but it's kinda crazy. Everybody's all over the place, and look what I can do.
And people are gonna laugh. Hey everyone, we're back with episode 2 of Q&A today. I got pretty positive feedback about last week's episode being a more relaxed conversation style video where we just talk about things that you want to know about. That makes me pretty happy to bring you this week's episode with some pretty good questions. With Endwalker coming up in just a few days, I'm pretty excited, I'm hyped, and I know that you all are too. We're going to have so many new things to do, from the story, to leveling up new jobs, and learning our new rotations, to just having fun. There's going to be all kinds of new minions, mounts, orchestrion roles, you name it. Crafters and gatherers are going to have stuff to do. It's going to be really awesome. And just getting to meet new friends, play with old friends, and balance between the two is going to be fantastic. I know the stream's been cut back a little bit since I've been working on video content, but I assure you it's for good reason. We're going to have guides, rotation videos, we'll have breakdowns of tooltips, we're going to be doing rating videos, and more. If you've got a suggestion, please let me know. But for now, let's get into the questions. Question 1 is from Eugene, who says, "Hey Rin, I loved the video format and the answers. I had a bit of a vague question. How do you get better at being a raid leader and doing callouts?" A lot of raid leading comes with practice. Knowing how players respond best, understanding when a call is or isn't needed, slowly removing the callouts so they don't become a crutch. These are all pretty good abilities and skill sets to have when looking towards honing your skills for calling for a group. Being comfortable in a farm setting is going to come naturally to you over time, and with that is going to come the calmness of your callouts the more you practice doing it. You're going to go from things like move, will turn into wait for the bait, and then move to the wall. You may go from use cooldowns, use your mitt, to okay, Heart of Light here, and Shield Samba now. And general quietness that you have when you survive a bad situation where you're like is going to transition to great job everybody, that was really hard, keep it up, that was an insane recovery, I can't believe you did that. Things like that are going to become more natural the more you're doing raid leading and callouts. It's expected that you're going to calm down the more you're used to something. However, you can get pretty antsy if you're in a situation that's unexpected. Maybe people start yelling and freaking out because things are going wrong. You're like, whoa, calm down. This is how we do it. This is how we go into things. And not just recovery moments. What about when you're in a new fight? We're about to go into Endwalker, which is going to have an amazing plethora of combat. And we're going to be in all new territory the whole way through. New fights are going to trip everybody up as they learn, because you don't simply have prior experience. We covered this part in last week's Q&A today, and if you'd like a more detailed answer, you can check out the video, which I'll have linked in the description below. Going back and completing older encounters to build your database of mechanical knowledge from old fights is super helpful. It's not required, but it can ease the burden quite a lot. As we go into new fights, they tend to bring back and refurbish old mechanics, so if you see one that you think, oh wait, I remember this, I saw this in Diamond Weapon, right? You're like, oh wow, I remember seeing this in Cloud of Darkness, or that 24-man raid that we did back in Heaven's Ward. Wow, I remember how to do that. It'll help you call out for your group and you'll be like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to group for this and find a buddy. You know, maybe if you're not standing together, you're going to be turned into an animal, maybe a pig, or maybe you're going to be turned into something, right? And you're like, okay, we have to stand together, or we have to heal, you know, anything of that nature is really going to help you if you have that database in your mind to call back on, right? For that reason, I suggest going back and doing old fights. You don't have to, but it can help. Also, do your best to remain calm. Sometimes you're going to trip up a callout. You might make a mistake where you call go left instead of right, or you tell people to stack instead of spread. And I know that when I make those mistakes, I think, so stupid. Shouldn't have done that. Or you think, I shouldn't be calling out, somebody else do it. I can't handle this right now. Or you think everybody's going to remember this and judge me for it forever, right? What you want to keep in mind is that we're all human, right? Me, you, everybody. We're going to make mistakes. Sometimes, as a raid leader, your mistake's going to wipe the group. Sometimes, as a non-raid leader, your mistake's going to wipe the group. But everybody's going to know that you did it, and you're going to be inside your own head for that. You're going to be like, if I just called the other one, if I just said something different, we'd be fine. And we didn't, right? Analyze the situation, figure out why you made the improper call out, and fix it. Maybe you had a mechanic where you had to stack first 8 pulls in a row, and then the 9th pull you had to spread, and you just called stack because you were habitually expecting it to be that, right? You're like, okay, it's just gonna be the same thing over and over, right? It's important sometimes I'll call out, I'm like, just so you know, this isn't the same every time. Next pull, be ready just in case, so that the team is ready too, and they don't fall into that, you know, that false lull, right? That sense of security where they're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do the same thing every time. Analyzing the situation, figuring it out. Maybe you got a phone call. Maybe somebody distracted you in real life. Maybe something's on your mind. Really stressful day at work, week, month, year. You know, we're in a stressful time in life, right? So being able to figure out what caused you to make the mistake and if you can immediately fix it, or maybe it is okay for somebody else to take over the callouts for a little bit while you fix whatever it is that's going on, right? Maybe you gotta go splash some water on your face and be like, look, I'm just tired. I'm gonna go wake myself up, drink some water, have a snack, and that'll revitalize me, right? Maybe it's you're just having a bad day, or maybe it's just a one-off and you made a mistake. Those do exist. Sometimes you just make the wrong play. Maybe your camera was looking the wrong way, or maybe you looked over at Twitch chat, right? Maybe I've done this before. Maybe you look over and you're reading something somebody said, or something was surprising, and you look back and you're like, oh, what's happening? Jesus! And now you're trying to make the appropriate call, but it's too late, or you're in a fluster a little bit yourself. So team flusters. Being able to find a tangible resolution is important. If you say, I just need to play better, I just need to call better, that's not tangible. That's not a solution to a problem. That's just saying you should do it. And without knowing why it happened and what to fix it with, it could be a little difficult. You can get inside your own head, anxiety could build. I know a lot of people have come to me with feeling pressure as a raid lead and wanting to improve. They've also come to me with pressure as a tank, or just any new role or raiding in general. It gets better, okay? It gets better, I promise you. You're gonna get to the point where you can do things like this.
All right, it looks like we're gonna stack now and spread it. Oh my god! I don't know what's happening, but it's kind of crazy. Everybody's all over the place, and look what I can do.
And people are going to laugh and do the mechanics. And you're like,
all right, it looks like we're going to spread on the count of 3, and then we're going to pause and...
all right, mission accomplished. And you can do things like that. As you get calm, as the raid environment is something, maybe if they like the comedy and they play better with it, you can play off of that. Maybe they need something like, all right then, stay calm. We're going to move. Move now. All right, good job. Look at that, everybody. Or maybe they need something strong. You're like, don't move. Wait. Go to B. Whatever it is, work on it. Own your skills. You're going to be all right. You are not alone if you feel pressure. You're not alone if you feel like you're lost and not sure what to do and how to take that next step. I guarantee you, we are all learning every day. Some people quicker than others, some people slower than others, but we all get there eventually, okay? It can make you nervous. It can make you anxious. Don't let it discourage you. Because if you truly want to grow as a shot caller, I believe in you. Know you can do it. And that's it for our first question. Oh, a little winded, I apologize. We're going to go on to question number 2, which is coming from Shaggy, who hits us with, hi Rin, I'm thinking on switching from Warrior to Gunbreaker for Endwalker. I was wondering, with Burst Strike having hyper velocity, are there going to be times that you do Fated Circle so you don't clip or cap? Now, I presume by cap you mean like overcapping your cartridges. If you're talking about a single target situation, you're strictly just not going to do that. You wouldn't use Fated Circle to have the extra movement between OGCDs if you want to move the boss or pop a cooldown. You would just clip your GCD if you were going to hypervelocity with something, or go the hypervelocity if it's really that stressful. It's going to be more potency, just more damage to do the Burst Strike than it is to do the Fated Circle. Now in multi-target, we have to wait to see final potency numbers. At the Media Tour, one Burst Strike with hypervelocity is equal to Fated Circle. And because they're equal, it actually ran into a situation where when you're doing dungeons or multi-boss targets, you could do either one. And you might choose to use Burst Strike and hypervelocity on a high health mob. Maybe you have like, you know, those bulky ones when you get into a dungeon and you have that one that's just really strong, right? And you're AoEing the pack, and then everybody starts single GCDing this one at the end because it's still at half HP and you're using these weak buttons. If you can Burst Strike that with hypervelocity and do the same damage as if you Fated Circled everything else, 2 target situation we're talking, it would be worth it to just burst strike that enemy, right? Same thing as putting your Sonic Break on it for a dot, etc., etc. So when it comes to our cartridges, it's not really going to change what we're doing now. We're going to have to wait for final potency numbers, and I will go over that with people when the time comes. But for now, don't worry about it. You would just clip your GCD or forego the hypervelocity, or even better yet, I challenge you to work with the tight timings on moving the bosses, right? Maybe you have to whip the boss really quickly and you have to utilize sprint to do it, or, you know, maybe it's with mitigation and you can learn to pop your mitt earlier so that when it comes up, you don't have to lose that hypervelocity. That's truly the end game, is finding a way to make it work to where you don't lose anything. But in the moment, work with what you got, segment the process, and it will come with time. I hope that answers your question, and if I missed the mark, please let me know, and I will go over it again. Thank you very much, and we'll move on to question number 3, which is coming in from Jedi Burner, who says, "Hey Rin, question as a player of DPS. I've been playing it for a fair bit, and everybody says that DPS has less responsibilities during higher end content. Now, would you say DPS should be focusing on, from their perspective during an encounter, should they focus on something else, their damage?" So, going over this question, I feel like that's kind of a biased take that was given to you. I actually don't think DPS have less responsibility at all. If you ever play melee, you may find yourself having to handle a mechanic where maybe you have to disengage and work with max melee and weave in and out of your GCD while resolving something, as opposed to maybe a physical range that may just get to walk away and do the mechanic, and they might feel like it's not much responsibility because they're not restricted to being near the boss. If you look at a number of fights, you'll find that tanks probably have less responsibility than the other roles. I don't think that's true about DPS at all. Let's take Uwu for example. If you go into the Weapons Refrain Ultimate, and you head into the beginning of the fight, tanks tank the adds and they do have responsibility with grabbing tethers. The DPS have to handle their frictions and their stacks, and then when you get to suppression, healers and DPS are all eligible to be picked by eruptions or Titan jails, or a chaser with light pillar, or getting the sisters and they have to get behind the tanks. But the tanks just kind of sit there and look pretty.
Subjective. I mean, look at this face.
You could do that, right? You could look pretty. You don't have to. You could look like this guy. You could look like this guy. I once looked like this guy. Maybe next week's episode we'll actually dress up like a Tom Brady. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Maybe we'll do that. You want to see that? Endwalker edition, Rinberry, for next week's Q&A. Maybe we'll summon our Alexander, we'll get GG Shinoa over there, and we'll just jam it up. Whatever it may be, I think tanks have less responsibility overall. However, we all have jobs, we all have responsibilities, we all have things we must do in the fight, right? Think about Leviathan Black Smokers. You had the tanks stand up front while the rest of the players did something in the background. But everybody's doing something to complete the fight, so you should be doing mechanics, you should be doing your rotation, and you should be doing your best to make sure that you're not a burden to the rest of your party while doing those mechanics. And by that I mean, maybe me coming in a little bit closer with my spread AoE, like in Baitbreaker where you have elemental break and you have to spread. Maybe me coming in a little bit pushes somebody else off the boss. Maybe if we spread out a little bit more, other people could fit. Maybe a red mage has a melee combo. Being aware of where other people are. Maybe not making a healer move. If I just moved over a little bit, they could stand still. It's all very important. It's all very important. And we should work together to make sure we have a pleasant experience. And so that's a lot to do all at once. So break it up. Break it up. Practice your rotation on a dummy, right? If you know the fight and you know the downtime, you could even simulate that on the training dummy. When you're in the fight, make sure you're doing the mechanics, because if you die or you get a damage down, you're doing less damage, right? So you don't want that, and you want to kill the boss. So get your rotation on a dummy, practice the mechanics in the fight, make sure that you're looking at the other people and have good spatial awareness, and that you're making sure you're not a burden for others, and then put it all together. If you can put all of that together, you're going to be solid. You're going to be good. Nobody asks for perfection. Let me tell you that right now. If somebody's telling you you have to be perfect, they're making a mistake. Only thing anybody should ask of you in a team setting is effort. As long as you're putting forth effort, you're going to be good. And with that, as a DPS, as a tank, or as a healer, that's your goal. Just effort, okay? Do your best. If you do that, you're going to be all right. Cool transition. Or I just wanted coffee, so it took a second. Question number 4 is actually more of a suggestion than it is a question. Brionic suggested adding some low volume chill music in the background instead of the ambience we had last week, which was just rain going off in the background. We had some in-game rain going on, and I don't have any chill music per se yet. I'm going to work on trying to obtain some, but for now, you know how this works out. We're going to go with something, and you let me know. You let me know what you think, and also open to suggestions from anybody else. So with that, we're going to move on to question number 5. Question number 5 is from Much, who says, it's a really good question. I actually think that what you should do is use Thrill of Battle just like any of your other cooldowns. Oh, really? Oh. Alright, so apparently not everybody watching speaks Nimian, and I don't have the subtitles on for that yet, so instead of speaking Nimian Tomberry, we're just going to go ahead and repeat the question in English. They said, I've got a warrior-specific question. Doing high-end content, I struggle with Thrill of Battle. How do you use it? With other cooldowns or by itself? Do you hold equilibrium to use it under Thrill? Are there interactions with certain healer classes that one can look out for? For example, you get the plus 20% healing received, and it won't really help much when you're going to get a benediction, right? I struggle to get a feel for this skill and use it kind of haphazardly or randomly instead of having an idea or framing it in which I can use to its full potential. I'd love to hear if you got any input on this. Thank you very much. With that, now you understand the question. Let's go into the answer. You should think of Thrill of Battle like any other cooldown, and I think it's great that you're thinking about using the applications like Convalescence, which used to be its standalone ability where it increased your healing received. Now, it's coupled in with Thrill of Battle. But when you're using Thrill of Battle, that's a great thing to keep in mind. Getting the extra healing. It also applies a heal to you when it increases your health. The amount it increases your health by, you get that heal back. And you can use that if a raid wide's coming up. You can pop it to get yourself healed, maybe after a home gang to survive an auto if it's falling off. There's a number of applications. Really, it should be mitigated and planned out just like any of your other stuff, like Rampart, Vengeance, Nascent, which is going to be Bloodwetting. We're going to have a Raw Intuition upgrade. Any of those should be planned in a fight, or used in the event of an emergency. Maybe you were planning to use it a little later, but you need it for recovery now. Maybe you're about to be hit with, a mechanic that's going to do like 50% of your HP, and you're at 40%. You can Thrill of Battle and then use a status effect off macro or right click it on your bar and disable your Thrill of Battle so you get the heal, but not the increased HP. So when it does hit you for 50%, or whatever the percent may be, you're going to live. And that could be really, really helpful. You could use it to buff your Shake It Off. You could use it for a number of applications. Really what you should do is, again, think of it like your other cooldowns. Map it out where you can get a good effect on it, and you always want to talk to your healers. Not every white mage is going to play the same. Not every sage is going to play the same. Regardless of who you have in your party, everyone should utilize what they have available to maximize the potential for your healers, because that's what our defensive cooldowns are there for, right? Spirits Within is no longer going to scale with health, so really, all we have our mitigation for now is to help the healers, and you want to help your healers, right? Because the last thing you want is to be sitting in Party Finder and no healers are joining, because they don't want to deal with it. So thank your healers, be nice to them, use your cooldowns effectively, and thank you for asking that question. I really like the way that you worded it with the applications and thinking about its uses. I really, really like that, so thank you very much, and I can't wait to see what you end up coming up with in Endwalker. And that actually leads us to our next question from Cyan who says, Hey Rin, I found the last Q&A video really good and informative for me as a new player. Started playing Gunbreaker, and I love it. But I kind of struggle when handling defensive cooldowns. You got any tips for that on when to use certain defensives? I think that's a great question. It's a great question because Gunbreaker has an extra cooldown that you may think of as either useless or incredibly powerful depending on who you are. Gunbreaker's got a plethora and people call them a paper bag, right? However, with the new Heart of Corundum upgraded from Heart of Stone, it's going to be amazing. You have Camouflage, and that's the ability that people are questionable on. It parries and provides mitigation. However, a lot of the parry rate is wasted on magical attacks. Some bosses don't do physical, they only use magic. Maybe the Buster's physical. Whatever it may be, you have 20 seconds of 10% flat mitigation, which you could think of as the same as 20% for 10 seconds, if the amount of attacks over that period of time, force out. If you parry, it's even better. What I like to do is I will time my cooldowns, and this should be going with any of your cooldowns, time them to gain the most value. Maybe you're going to cover a couple of auto attacks into a tank buster. Maybe you're going to cover a tank buster into a few auto attacks. Maybe a little overlap between them. Maybe you're going to cover some raid wides with it as well. Whatever it may be, that will change from fight to fight, encounter, raid to raid, mitigation plan, and your party comp. Maybe your kill time is going to cost the use of a defensive at the end because you're just not going to have it, so you could double up earlier. Something like that. Really good example that I can think of was Voidwalker. In Voidwalker, it was really nice to where I could plan out on Gunbreaker, Camouflage and Rampart on one Shadow Flame buster, which covered the AoE after, and then Nebula on the next buster. And then the next one, Camo and Rampart came back up, and then Nebula, and I just kept alternating those Heart of Stone where applicable, or if I had to use it on an ally. You could also use Heart of Light as your raid-wide mitigation, right? That's very important, very strong. You could use it to cover the raid-wides. If attacks are magical on the autos, you can overlap with that as well. Maybe you can catch a buster into a raid-wide or raid-wide into a buster that's magical, and you can cover both. Voidwalker's another example where you could do that. Very, very good applications. Don't look at popping things reactively, right? Pop them proactively. Plan where you're going to use it, get it ready, and make sure it's smashing, okay? If you plan your cooldowns properly and you're maximizing your uses, your party's going to love you because you're going to be healthy. Because you're healthy or keeping other people healthy, people are going to want to play with you, and it can only get better. So, while it can be daunting having so many cooldowns, and you're like, well, do I save Nebula for an emergency? It's my 30%. It's huge, right? And then you go 3 minutes without a use? It's a 2-minute recast, so you've now lost an entire use for nothing. So while a lot of people want to use things for emergency, I strongly advise you to plan them out. You can hold something for emergency if you think it might go wrong, or the past 5 pulls it has gone wrong. Maybe you're like, okay, it's unfortunate, we have somebody learning, and while we're learning, this person keeps clipping a healer, and now they're dying, and I can't be healed while they're getting rezzed by our red mage or whatever. During that time, you could save a cooldown, because like, I need this cooldown to live. Here we go. And that's both using it for emergency and planning it, right? Because you're just using probability and statistics at that point. Once the party stops wiping to that, or people stop dying, you can reapply it somewhere else. Finding value is going to change from moment to moment. For me, in my static, it's probably going to be a different cooldown plan than in, let's say I play in speedrun groups or in prog parties, we're going for enrage. Different kill times, different mitigation, different item levels is going to change what you do. That's just how it'll be. Use these tips and you're going to find success. I know you will. With that, we're going to move on to our next question. That's good garlic bread. All right, we're back. Let's go on to question number 6. Which is from Pony Parts, who demands to know where the cows are. Listen, Yoshi, we need to know where the cows are right now. We will not rest. We will not stop for an instant until we find the cows. Are they on the moon? Is that why we're going? That's why we're going. I know it is. Is that where the cheese comes from? That's how we get the moon cheese. I knew it. I knew it. The Lunarians have been hiding it this whole time. The people demand answers. Real talk though, who knows? I don't know. We've seen yaks, but maybe the cow's time is coming. We are getting Island Sanctuary. Or maybe cows already exist in the game. Maybe you've seen them and I haven't. Let me know. Question number 7 comes from Bars, who wants to know, as someone who hasn't done much crafting yet, they've been focusing on getting all combat jobs to 80, which, by the way, I hope you get. Pretty daunting task. I'm still not done myself. What role does overmelding currently play in content? So for those of you who don't know, overmelding is referring to infusing your combat gear or Disciple of Hand and Land gear, your equipment, with materia to enhance their substats. You could do things like control to direct hit, maybe skill speed, spell speed, piety, etc. You name it. If it's a substat, you can meld it. a lot of people will overmeld their crafting and gathering materia to be able to gather and craft the new bleeding edge stuff that comes out patch to patch. For combat, it's a little bit different. It's really good to have week 1, maybe week 2 as you're progressing through the fights, but as you're working your way through Savage, getting your weekly tomestones, doing your alliance raids, you're going to upgrade your gear and it's going to become equipment that can't be overmelded. So really all you have to do if you're doing battle content is just meld for the guaranteed slots. The rest is going to come. You'll upgrade your stuff anyways, and overmelding is not guaranteed, meaning you could end up spending quite a hefty sum on getting that materia into those slots. So to answer your question, it depends. For me, I'm going to be doing cutting edge progression day 1. It's important for me. I'll be getting it on all of my gear as well as my team. For you, depends on what you're going to do. If you're not really going to be doing high-end content right away and you're just going to go at it at a slower pace, regular melding's fine. Just the guaranteed slots. Totally cool. Our final question today is from Eric G. Most controversial question that we've ever had. They asked, do pineapples belong on high quality pizza or not? If you put pineapples on a high quality pizza, is it just a regular quality pizza or do you discard it? And I don't claim to be a master culinarian, so listen, I just eat the stuff. But years ago, I actually had my own pizza place, and a lot of customers would order pineapple on their pizza. You'd have things like pineapple and pepperoni, and I don't like the taste combination myself. Personally, if I'm putting pineapples on a pizza, it's got to be with barbecue sauce, with onions, bacon, and grilled chicken. That is how it's done for me. I don't know about you, maybe put some ranch. Maybe you'll do, like, you could do a Hawaiian, right? Maybe you do Canadian bacon, or you do ham with some pineapple. I know a lot of people like that. If you put spinach Alfredo and pineapple together, you might as well just throw anchovies on that and throw it directly into the garbage. Whatever it may be, we all have our own preferences. Nobody's going to judge you. We've all made bad decisions in life. We've all made great decisions in life, okay? You have a meats pizza for me, that's my favorite. Other people like vegetarian. Maybe you're going to get the works on them. You know, whatever you like. But I think we can all agree that lactose intolerant or not, pizza's delicious. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Pineapple on pizza or not in Final Fantasy XIV. Maybe even in real life too, if you're willing to get into that conversation. But let's just hope that one doesn't cause anyone to bring about another calamity. And that's it for another week of questions. Our next episode's actually going to be after Endwalker's already out. We're going to be leveling. We're already going to be geared, probably at level 90, doing the new trial, maybe not. So if you have any questions you want to know, be it about Shadowbringers or Stormblood, maybe you just have a question in general, whatever. You know, maybe you just have a question. Maybe you have something you want to know about when Endwalker comes out, or you're just jamming, right? You know, hey Ren, what's your favorite movie and why? And then I'll say, hey, what's your favorite anime and why not, right? If we had Cello ask us a nice question about music last week, and that led to a nice discussion. Brought up Alex Mukala. Husky by the Geek is also phenomenal. Been listening to a lot of Final Fantasy chiptune mixes lately. All extremely good. Now, if we were to talk about one band I really like that does video game music, they're called the Megas. And they do Mega Man music. They've also done some Castlevania stuff. A lot of people haven't heard of them, but I hear they've actually heard of like the Proto Men, which is really cool. And speaking of music too, over for the holiday season, one of my friends gifted me a VR set, and I got to try VR for my very first time. It was really, really fun. It was really fun. It was super weird. I went in and we did like a jet grind radio place, which was so cool because I'm sitting there like grinding and stuff, and I'm getting super disoriented because you got to do flips and turns and stuff. But the music just made me think, because Jet Set Radio, Future Jet Grind Radio, they have amazing soundtracks, and just getting to go through that was a really surreal experience, because I didn't understand really what VR was like before. I've never tried it, and I went for about 7 hours. I was playing VR and I was okay. I was taking water periodically and just making sure I was all right. And then I started feeling a little uneasy, and I'm like, it's probably gonna pass. And let me tell you, it does not pass, because I went from feeling kind of okay to I need to lay down right now, like. And I took it off, and I was like, how do I get out of this game? And and that was it. I ended stream right away, and I laid down. I was so nauseous. It was unbelievable how much it affected me so quickly. I had to take the rest of the time. It took like a couple hours to just sit back, press, stare up at the ceiling, have a snack, had 2 bananas, and just stayed, just chilled, just didn't do a whole lot of nothing, you know. And it was, let me tell you, I'm gonna do it again. It was fun. It was fun. It was really fun. Wouldn't that be wild? Could you imagine if Final Fantasy XIV did VR? Could you imagine doing raids? That would be so bad. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for letting me talk a little while to each of you. Thank you for asking questions, and you know, I went off the rails a little bit, off the trodden path a little bit, and we talked about some other stuff. I also get this phantom feeling where I'm like recording stuff right now, so I'm reaching for my headphones and they're just not there. Yeah, so you know, submit any questions you got. I like the variety. You know, we went over pineapples on pizza and cows and Eorzea, right? We talked about all kinds of stuff. Raiding. You know, we talked about some crafting, gathering stuff. We're going to probably be having a lot of conversations about rotations going into Endwalker, I would imagine. Things to do, leveling your alts, how to handle, what to do, preparing for raids. I suspect we'll be going over a lot of that in stream, but if you want to know anything specific or general, let me know. Post it in the questions in the comments below, okay? I really, really like it. Thank you all for coming by, and be sure to subscribe to my channel because it is the best way to keep following and checking out when we have updates. We're going to be posting a lot more regularly now that we have the channel really going with a set plan, and I'm going to keep to that. We're going to make sure that we stick to it pretty vehemently. We're going to be doing rotations. You can expect rotations up for all 4 tanks within a week of the expansion happening. So be looking for that. I'm also going to get Reaper up. I may even post Reaper stuff before Endwalker happens because I already have the footage from the media tour. So if you want to see that, let me know, and I'll make it a priority. Otherwise, you can find me live on Twitch. You know, we have our Discord where we like to have conversations with people and just hang out, and on Twitter where we're engaging people most days. We have questions almost every day, and we just post daily musings, maybe thoughts we have, engaging with other people, congratulating people on their clears, as there are so many people working towards their last moment clears, last moment ultimates, and it's really awesome. It's really awesome to get to see people accomplish their goals. Makes me really happy. And I mean, you could just you could just tell right there. I get really excited when people raid in Final Fantasy XIV. It is my favorite thing to do. I love helping people clear content. If you ever see me around and you want help, just reach out. If I'm available, I would love to come. It could be anything. We could do extremes. Maybe you want to learn some PvP stuff. You know, whatever we happen to be doing at the time. If there's a queue for it, if we can get in there and do it, I want to play with you. It's going to be a good time. Thank you all for coming, and I'll catch you next time.